All right, ladies and gentlemen, if I could have all your attention again. We are now joined in the media center here at Chicagoland Speedway by none other than Jeff Gordon, of course, driver of the number 24 Exalta Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. Jeff, coming to Chicago this weekend, a very big record that you're tying, most consecutive starts all time. Just talk a little bit about hitting that milestone and what that means to you.
Yeah, well, first, it's hard to follow up Jerry West. I mean, man, it's awesome. Yeah, this is yeah, I'm really focused on the chase, and this being the first race in the chase, so that's where our primary you know, amount of effort and focus is at. But what's coming along with that is you know, something that I'm very proud of. Something I've you know, put a lot of effort into over the years, is to stay healthy and competitive, and you know, it's hard to believe that I've been in that car every single race since 1992. So on Sunday, that'll be, you know, something that will add to some already impressive stats. That it wasn't something I really ever focused on throughout my career. I just always focused on working hard, staying healthy, and being as committed to, you know, the team from a driver standpoint as they have been to me, and you know, now here we are, 788. Pretty amazing.
Absolutely. We're going to go ahead and open it up to the floor for questions for Jeff then. Just raise your hand, state your name and affiliation. We'll get a wireless mic to you. We'll open right here in the front with Jenna.
Jenna Fryer, AP. Who's tougher, you, Ricky Rudd, or Terry Labonte?
Oh, those guys are way tougher than me. I mean, I've never had to tape my eyelids open, you know, to make the race. So, you know, the one thing about it is the sport is safer, you know, today than it ever has been. I think it's a little bit more demanding in some ways from how hard you have to push. You know, the cars are gripping so much better, and the G-forces that we're pulling through the corners. In that sense, I think, you know, the physical fitness side of it, you have to really work on. But when you think of those guys in the conditions of the cars, they didn't have any kind of air conditioning. They dealt with some major injuries and fought through it, just like Terry. You know, being my teammate there and seeing him race with a broken hand or wrist or whatever it was pretty amazing. And I mean, I've had some injuries along the way that I've had to fight through, so I have a taste of it, but certainly nothing like those guys. Those guys are way tougher.
All right.
Steve Richards.
I almost got in a fight with Ricky Rudd one time, and I'm quite certain I would have lost that fight, yeah.
What was it about? Do you remember?
Oh, I know exactly what it was about. We were at Charlotte. He was no longer my teammate, and I was trying to pass him and have a little difficulty passing, so I did a big slide job on him in the middle of 3 and 4. I don't think he was happy about that, and he basically pushed me all the way down the front straightaway and ended up wrecking both of us by the time we got to turn 1. And I showed my displeasure, and he showed his displeasure. We had to get in the ambulance together to come back to the infield care center, and we had many choice words. Nothing physical, but it got pretty heated.
Did you guys ever talk it out?
Well, the funny part about that story is that I just bought a house up at the lake, and it wasn't finished. It's still being built, and I was up there you know, looking at the house and what was the, you know, where it was at the time, and a car drove down the driveway. It's still just dirt. There was no pavement or anything. So this car comes winding through the property at the front, and I'm just looking, oh, I wonder who that is. And I walk up, and the car stops right about the time that I realize it's Ricky and his wife. And they were just out and about looking at houses. And he wanted to back up. I could tell he wanted to back up fast, but he didn't. And we kind of laughed about it, and you know, talked about the incident, and both apologized, and then moved on.
Steve Richards, the PRN. When Harvick yesterday said, you know, about the Gibbs people, we're going to pound them into the ground. That's a lot of drivers, you know, Kyle Busch was like, I thought that kind of talk would be at Homestead and not Chicago. I mean, does that surprise you that Harvick's kind of starting early?
He's an instigator. I'm not surprised. I saw a few antics yesterday that, you know, I mean, the thing is, everybody has their way of going about it. You know, you can just do all your talking on the racetrack, which the thing is, Kevin's capable of doing that as well. But he likes to do a little bit more of that off the racetrack as well, and it's just Kevin's personality. And I mean, I think he does it in good fun, but he also knows that you know, there are certain individuals out there that can affect them and maybe give him an edge, and so he's going to try to get every edge that he can get.
That's what I was going to ask you. Does it ever work? And maybe he thinks there are certain Gibbs drivers that it might work on.
Well, I don't know. Only time will tell if it works. But it wouldn't work on me. Yeah, I mean, I think that's, you know, one of my strengths is just mentally blocking out things like that and just going and doing your job on the track. And I think most guys are like that. But there are a few that might be a little bit more, you know, sensitive to those kinds of things. It might stick in their head. And I mean, the thing is, if there's one major competitor of his that it works on, then I think that's a win for him. But it can go back, it can go the other way too, you know, and you get pounded in the ground, and then all of a sudden you're going to have to deal with those questions in the media. So those guys are strong, they're tough. He's showing it again today, and I don't know, maybe he's got something up his sleeve that nobody else knows about that is getting ready to pound all of us in the ground.
All right, we'll go over to the far left for Stan.
Jeff, Stan Creekmore with RPMtonight.com. Any minute now, a car that looks quite similar to the original DuPont car that you had is going to be drag stripping down at Charlotte Motor Speedway. How surprised were you to see that car? I hear only in photos. And what did it mean to you deep inside?
I was shocked. That blew me away. I've always been a huge fan of John Force, and I went out to that track last year. Took my kids out there to watch some drag racing. I was just so impressed with you know, what they do and the power in those cars. And it was kept a secret from me. I guess, you know, my office and my stepdad, John Edwards, and a few others knew about it. You know, it's one thing to see a track or a fan or somebody here within this garage area community do something to pay tribute, but when it starts going outside of NASCAR and our sport, you know, that certainly humbles you and makes you extremely appreciative of not just what I've done, but people that recognize it, especially when it's somebody like John Force.
And I should have asked, are you going to get the body? And if so, where would you put it?
Well, first of all, I just want to tell John I only want the flames to be on the paint, because I've seen him go up in a big ball of flame before, so let's hope it just stays on the body with the paint. I don't know anything more than that. I'm just so appreciative of him doing that, that just seeing it on the track is an honor.
All right, we'll come over to the front right to Jerry and then come up to Chris.
Jerry Bonkowski, NBC Sports. Jeff, so much has been made about this being your last year. I'd like to take you back to the beginning of the career. You know, your time with Bill Davis, and then eventually segueing to Hendrick. Could you ever have imagined back then what you've become today?
No, never. I was having a conversation earlier about this, and you know, that's been one of the greatest things about this year is reminiscing about, you know, how it all started. I've been able to reconnect with people that, you know, played a role along the way, and significant moments that really changed my path or took it to the next level. You know, of course, my stepdad has been there, and my mom been there the whole way. So it's been great, interacting with them as well and talking about those times. Because over the years, I can't say that we always have, but when we start talking about, hey, we're going to invite, you know, this person to this race and this person to that race, and you know, I got to see Raleigh Helmling in Indianapolis, and that one really kick-started, in my opinion, where I drove that midget the night before the 500 and won the race live on ESPN, and everybody knows how popular Thursday Night Thunder was back then in those times, and that's really what put my name out there to even get the opportunity to go NASCAR racing. And then, of course, the Hugh Connerty introduction at the Buck Baker Driving School, which led to Ray Evernham. One of the coolest things about that whole thing that people don't know much about was, and I love seeing this at Darlington a couple weeks ago, was Leo Jackson. Leo Jackson, played a big role in that team, in that car, because his connection with the Barkdals, who their shop housed that car, and Hugh Connerty was basically the son-in-law to Leo Jackson, and that's what kind of started his path there. And then Andy Petrie and Ray Evernham, that's how that all came about. And of course, then that led to getting a phone call from Ford and going testing for Bill and driving for Bill, and ultimately leading to Hendrick Motorsports. Pretty cool stuff.
Right here in the front, Chris.
Chris Knight, CatchFence.com. Jeff, a lot of chatter during the Truck Series practice and Xfinity practice about the track being a lot rougher. I just wondered if it was similar for you guys and how it could play effect towards Sunday's race.
Yeah, the funny thing about it seems like every year we go back to a track and we say how much rougher it is, and the thing is, sometimes the track does get slightly rougher going through a winter, especially the harsh winters they have up here. But most of the time, it's the teams just trying to be more aggressive with the setups, and we're getting more and more away from suspension and focusing more and more on aerodynamics. And so the gain that you have aerodynamically with the downforce by making the car stiff and the platform of the car, getting closer to the racetrack, maximizing the downforce, makes the cars ride really rigid and recognize the bumps a lot more. But yes, the bumps are significant. The one going into one is there, and it'll play a small role, but it's the one in the middle, 3 and 4. I'm assuming over the tunnel. To this day, I'll never understand why we put tunnels in the middle of corners, but it is what it is. I'm hoping my racetrack in Canada, if we ever get it done, will not have a tunnel in the corners. But it always gives in those areas and creates bumps, which sometimes create a little bit more drama and excitement in the race as well. Yeah.
Stay right here in the front, Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I remember so many years when people will say, we found the next Jeff Gordon, this kid is the next Jeff Gordon, and they would say that and say that. If you go back and you were a kid trying to get into NASCAR today, where a lot of times you got to bring a sponsor with you or whatever, would you have had the same progress into the sport? Would it have been possible, even with your talent, to have made it to this level?
Well, Kyle Larson's done it, and I'd say his path was similar. I think he's extremely talented, and I love the fact that our sport is still recognizing talent, meaning that the car owners are given opportunities and creating sponsorship, or creating the opportunity to get sponsorship. I mean, when Chip Ganassi has to make a decision between Juan Pablo Montoya, and his international appeal and his talent, or Kyle Larson, and Kyle Larson's in the car today, is that just goes to show you that somebody's talent really can thrive still today, and I love that, because I do worry about that. There's a lot of young talented kids out there. I think the NASCAR Next program is becoming a great program, as well as really recognizing talent, and it's giving people opportunity to get behind the wheel when otherwise, without a sponsorship, they might not. And I think that the teams are embracing that and realizing that still today, yeah, it's nice to have somebody that can bring money and pay the bills, and there's sometimes that rare instance where they bring money and they have the talent, to also get the job done behind the wheel. But it's nice to know that talent, by running up front and being more competitive, has the ability to probably bring in more sponsorship.
All right, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Best of luck throughout the weekend.